On this episode of the podcast, I have with me Vineet Goyal. He is the co-founder and chief product and technology officer at Parafin. And we're going to be talking about the importance of having a business product mindset. We're going to be talking about hiring people that happen to be engineers for those product roles. We're going to be talking about what prompted the shift of needing a particular position within product within his team. And we're going to dive into why you have to be careful of bringing in PMs potentially too early. We're going to talk a little bit about creating leverage for engineers, and we're going to touch on a couple of things if we have time with Vineet, but I am really appreciative of your time. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Amir.
Absolutely. Before we start, what do you guys do at Parafin?
At Parafin, our mission is to grow small businesses. We started the company in August 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. The observation we had was that small businesses are a large segment of the society, and banks didn't have their backs. Incumbents were using archaic technologies. They were relying too much on personal credit scores, requiring personal collateral, which was really hurting a lot of businesses that was minority run or happened to be in certain industries. So we saw the need for a technology-driven fintech player to come and democratize financial services for small businesses. My co-founders and I had a lot of experience in financial services and technology, coming from the early days of Robinhood, so we took upon this mission for ourselves, and Parafin was born. We essentially enable online platforms such as DoorDash, Amazon, Walmart, to name a few, to offer high quality financial services to small businesses that transact on their platform. So imagine a restaurant selling on DoorDash or an e-commerce seller selling on Amazon. And those are some of the platforms that we work with.
I guess we're going to be talking about having that need for having that business product mindset. I guess before we dive in to the topic, I think it'd be great for everyone to kind of understand, at Parafin, how is product and engineering structured? Because you hold the chief product and technology officer hat, so it could be a good starting off point.
Yeah, that's a good question. The way we're structured, the teams at Parafin, is we do have a product team and an engineering team, each with its own head of product and head of engineering respectively, who report up to me. And now that is how it's structured today. It wasn't always structured that way. We started the company, and in the initial days, we were very careful with mostly hiring engineers who were very product minded. There are two quips that I hear very often in Silicon Valley. One is this a product-driven org or an engineering-driven org? The other one is product defines why and what to build, and engineering defines how to build it and eventually builds it. The reason we started with having the team be more indexed towards engineering versus product was we wanted to make sure that the culture of Parafin does not end up in any one of these buckets. Just because, if we look at the first quip, the best companies are customer focused or customer driven. They're not product or engineering driven. Those are just two functions helping create customer value. And you want every single function to think about what does the customer want and how could I in my own function be providing that customer value in the best way possible. Similarly, it's almost a mistake if we kind of start falling prey into product defining what or why to build and engineering defining how to build and building it. I think it's very important for engineering to really understand the what and the why of the product. What I've seen very often is if that is not true, then inevitably engineers will end up making very short-term decisions. In an early stage company, it's very to iterate very quickly on customer feedback, and for that it's very important that we understand exactly where iteration will be important and build towards that extensibility in mind.
So absolutely. I think the description you provided of the two different mindsets and how companies view themselves makes a lot of sense. I guess tell us a little bit about the early days of your company, and you obviously can tell us a little bit about how the engineers were maybe wearing that product it had, how they're being a little bit more product minded.
Yeah, I think since the early days, we have maintained very high ratio of engineers to product managers in the company. Today, the company is around 25 engineers to 2 product managers. That is relatively higher compared to other technology companies our size. And what we see is, one that happens because of the culture that we have built of hiring engineers who are very product minded. That has enabled us to do this. But the second order effect of that has been that everyone, not just product managers, engineers, and everyone in the company are very ruthlessly focused on customer value. We've been very thoughtful around, where we build, where we buy. And that has really led to us having a very small team of engineers, 25 engineers shipping almost 4 products. In 2 different geographies. We are moving billions of dollars annually. We have over 50 white label versions of our product running in production across the different platforms that we serve. That has really come from having engineers who are thinking very much about the product, the engineering, the customer all at once, and not just narrowly focused on engineering. We have also, since the early days of the company, incorporated some practices that has really helped us execute on this way of thinking. One is every single employee at Parafin has to attend a customer empathy session. This is a session that is led by our customer support agents, where they have to shadow the customer support agent for an hour and just see, what are our customers saying when they call support or they reach out to support. The impact of that has been outstanding. It's far exceeded my expectations when we first started doing this. We have had cases where an engineer would shadow a support agent, listen to some customer complaints, and within an hour or so has a PR out to fix that problem. And the other thing we started doing was, the forward deploy engineer has been made very famous by Palantir, the integration engineers in other enterprise companies like ours. We very deliberately decided not to hire integration engineers in the early days. We have them now, but in the early days, not having them meant engineers would go and have to help our partners onboard to Parafin. And as a result, the empathy that they started building into the onboarding process had very widespread impact on the product. We designed the product from the get-go to be very easy to onboard. We have had platforms with operations team onboarding to our program, which has some technical components, and even non-technical folks have managed to integrate with our platform in days, and that has really come from the folks building the product having that empathy right from the get-go.
I guess as the company has grown, and you mentioned you have a head of product reporting to you. I guess what kind of profile were you identifying for that head of product role, given kind of your views of having that product mindset within the engineering team?
So I think to answer that question, maybe it's worth discussing what prompted that hire. And we didn't have a very strong sense on when to hire, when is the right time to hire head of product. We did have a very strong sense on when not to hire head of product. When we see companies hire product leaders before getting to product market fit, in my opinion, and my co-founders as well, that's probably not the right time, because that is typically the sole responsibility of the founder to get to product market fit. Very few exceptions to the rule. So we really hired our head of product when we saw a few problems that started coming up in the org, and we needed someone to come and help us navigate those problems. The couple of problems that we saw was, one, our product surface area expanded very rapidly. So, we started, seeing that there were 3 or 4 different product surface areas for us. platform facing, our existing product that was scaling very rapidly. We were building a new product based on the needs of our customers. And we needed to execute on those different product surface areas in parallel. We kind of had an idea of a few ingredients of product market fit in each one of those surface areas, but we needed someone who can help really create a perpetual motion machine into execute on each one of those in parallel. The other problem that we saw was the number of stakeholders that one had to work with to ship product features at Parafin was increasing. We went from engineering, just taking a customer pain point and building a product and shipping it, to now there was account managers, sales teams, legal teams, finance teams, and that was making it a little challenging to ship products at the velocity we wanted. So I think, to your question of what was the traits that we were looking for a head of product, we were really looking for someone who can come and really help solve these problems and get us to a point where we can execute on these different product surface areas in parallel and very efficiently. We hired a head of product in around fall 2022. This was squarely post product market fit. Our product was scaling across multiple really large platforms. And we were pretty happy in hindsight. Hindsight is 2020, that we had these very specific problems that our head of product could come and help solve and really help us navigate.
Interesting. I guess you had mentioned helping create leverage for engineers, right, in reference to product. And I would love to maybe hear a little bit more about what the context of what that means.
The context of that is, when to hire product managers, right? Like we spoke about hiring engineers who have a product mindset, but that doesn't mean not bringing in product managers. I think they bring a lot of value to the org. I think we realize that bringing product managers at the right time creates a lot of leverage for engineers, for the entire org in general. And for us, the observation was around a few different areas. One, there comes a time for a product surface area that you need a single threaded owner who can very deeply focus on what is ways that we can be expanding the value that this product drives. So essentially, a time comes when you need a single owner for that product. There also comes a time that you want engineers or different functions who previously were playing a product, a more of a product role in that in their functions, to be able to be in and out. It's, for example, if previously engineers are focused on how to improve this product, there comes a time that they will have to be in and out based on some engineering needs coming up, becoming more important. So you need a product owner who can be very single-threadedly focused on the product. And then there also comes a time when the number of functional stakeholders just increases. This is especially important in a financial services business, where you have more stakeholders than a typical software-only product. For example, most product features have to touch our risk team, our finance team, our legal and compliance teams. And bringing in PMs in some of those areas at the right time really created a lot of leverage for engineers and for our customers, frankly. And as such, we prioritize bringing in PMs into core product areas, which could really benefit from some of these improvements.
I mean, I guess you hold the title of Chief Product and Technology Officer, and you mentioned obviously to head of head of the talent, head of product reporting to you. Talk to us a little bit about your relationship with them and how you kind of balance that dual title.
So balancing that title, the main role that I see for myself as a co-founder and the title of Chief Product and Technology Officer is fundamentally ensuring that Parafin's products are always delighting our customers and are at the cutting edge of what the most innovative solution to a customer pain points can be, both from a product perspective, but also from a technology perspective. From a technology perspective, it's also important that we are always utilizing the best technologies out there to really expand the value we can provide to our customers. And so I really see my role as ensuring that Parafin is always at the forefront of that. And the head of engineering at Parafin, the head of product at Parafin are really folks who are experts at running those teams, at running those orgs, and ensuring that we can collectively come up with the best vision towards the product and towards the product that Parafin can serve, and how engineering can enable that, and ensuring that we are executing on those.
I guess something we wanted to touch on is, I guess everyone is considering or worried about or anticipating the development of GenAI and the impact on the software engineering process, the impact it's going to have on engineers. I guess when you think about that, you have to also think about the impact that it's going to have on product people. I just was kind of curious. Do you have any views? Obviously, we're not going to hold you to these because things are quickly developing, so we have no idea what the world will be in 6 months or a year. But just what are your views when it comes to the role GenAI might play within the engineering process and workflow?
It's interesting. LLMs are getting surprisingly good at writing code. In fact, I think this is only going to get better. One very good leading indicator is the coding is one of the most competed upon benchmarks that all these different foundational models are using, which just makes it inevitable for them to get really, really good at coding. And a few different effects of that are going to be, first and foremost, I think writing code is going to become a commodity. The cost of writing code is going to go down to practically zero over time. And this means that being product and business minded will become a necessity and not a nice to have. And I think two ways that engineers will have to reinvent themselves in this era over time. And I really talk in the long term. In the short term, I think the way to reinvent is engineers will have to treat AI as a way to become those 10x engineers that we always talk about. But in the long term, I think two things are going to be important. One is building that creativity around solving very complex engineering problems by breaking them into these small problems that they can delegate to a swarm of AI agents. And I think the second way is going to be a big melding of PM and engineering as two separate vocations into a single role. This is very similar. If I kind of reflect on when Node.js started becoming famous, you saw a very big melding of front end engineering and back end engineering into full stack engineers. You'll see something similar with PMs and engineers with AI. And there's this economic principle that is a very good leading indicator of that, which is when two complementary goods or services exist, and when the cost of one dramatically reduces, the demand for the other increases dramatically. So I really see as engineering and product/design as two complementary skill sets or complementary services per se. And as the cost of writing code is going to dramatically increase, the demand for building products, designing products is going to dramatically increase. So as a result, we'll see a gap that will have to be filled by engineers who can flex into those areas.
That's interesting because obviously you mentioned, and we're not going to hold it to it, but the cost of writing code will go down. There seems to be, and this is maybe someplace we haven't ventured, right? So product owners, product teams have a very long list of requirements that are in the backlog. Obviously, things take longer to develop, get into production. That's just natural. As you're kind of anticipating this shift, do you anticipate also that some of the functionality, especially for software companies, for tech companies, that companies have on the roadmap, those roadmaps are going to potentially accelerate delivering faster value. Is that going to put a little bit more pressure on the product team to actually be innovating further ahead, knowing that they might be able to get through a lot of that backlog faster?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be incredibly important for products to accelerate the way they're giving value. If you I like to use this example of V0 by Vercel or Replit. It's incredible how you can build these micro apps at the speed that you think of them. So as a result, I think most small features are going to become highly customized micro apps that consumers can build themselves. So the value that any standalone product has to drive will just have to increase very, very rapidly. So and you're absolutely right. Product managers, companies will have to really think about how they can accelerate the value they're driving in a world where AI exists. And not only going to be driven by the speed at which they can build, it's the speed at which their customers can build these features themselves on standalone tools.
As mentioned, we're not going to hold you to this. I'm very curious about engineering leaders' views on, especially product technology, officer titles like yours, because obviously you are seeing both these roles play out, and there's a unique position of seeing where engineers. I'm personally calling it. No one else is, and I don't think it's caught on. But I'm calling it the shift left of software engineering, just because I feel like that's where cybersecurity really has been shifting left into the process early. I think engineer, as you mentioned, is going to shift left into the business sooner and sooner. I think that's going to be what you described is kind of how I view it as well. Vineet, I know we have gone over a little bit, but I appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your viewpoints. I was going to ask you, if somebody does have a question for you, they want to follow up with you with anything, is there a good way of connecting with you?
Absolutely. My email is a great way, Vineet@parafin.com. My LinkedIn and Twitter are also, I think, link below. So I would love to hear from folks.
Okay, awesome. We'll definitely include that in the show notes. And again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing. I really appreciate it. That's it for this episode. We'll be back again, different guest, different topic. Until then, two things. One, please share this episode with other people. I think it's a great episode for engineers, for product people. I think Vineet went through and talked a lot about his early days and his views on engineering and their relationship with product, and going through the hiring of a product manager as well. We talked a little bit about also where he thinks the impact of GenAI will be, these LLMs will be on the actual software engineering process itself. So please share the episode with others. I really do appreciate that. Also, like, subscribe, comment. Please let me know. Leave a review for the episode. That'd be great. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.